Most people believe animals enter human lives to provide comfort, to soften loneliness, to offer affection at the edges of long and demanding days. These explanations feel intuitive, and they are not wrong, but they are incomplete because animals shape far more than our emotional states. They quietly alter how the human body endures time itself, shaping how stress is absorbed, how recovery unfolds, and how long the system remains functional before decline accelerates. Modern humans are living longer than ever before, yet they are not necessarily living more regulated lives. The body survives, but it rarely settles. The nervous system remains alert long after danger has passed. Stress no longer comes in clear episodes followed by recovery. It builds gradually, turning into a constant background state. Muscles remain tense, breathing becomes shallow, sleep fragments, cortisol remains elevated just enough to matter, but not enough to trigger alarm. What feels like normal life is, biologically, a state of low-grade emergency. Over years, this chronic state accelerates aging, inflammation increases, cardiovascular flexibility declines, cellular repair slows, the immune system becomes less precise, more reactive. The body does not collapse suddenly, it wears down quietly, invisibly, and continuously. And because this process feels ordinary, it often goes unnoticed until the effects are already entrenched. This is the environment in which animals enter human lives, not as solutions, and not as therapy, but as biological signals. An animal does not need to do anything extraordinary to influence the human system. Its presence alone is enough. The nervous system reacts before thought intervenes. Heart rate softens, breathing deepens, muscle tone decreases. These changes are subtle, but they interrupt the state of permanent alert that defines modern existence and slowly recalibrate the baseline toward safety. Animals move through space without judgment. They exist without social performance. To the nervous system, this signals safety. Human presence carries complexity and evaluation. Animal presence carries life without threat. Repeated exposure to this signal slowly changes baseline physiology. Stress still occurs, but recovery becomes faster, more complete, and less metabolically expensive. Over time, the body learns that it is allowed to rest. Routine deepens the effect. Animals impose rhythm without pressure, feeding times, movement, and care anchor days in predictable patterns. Time gains structure. Structure reduces cognitive load. As humans age, this becomes increasingly important. Without daily anchors, motivation weakens, movement declines, and physiological systems deteriorate. Animals quietly interrupt this trajectory by forcing gentle engagement with the present moment. Touch adds another layer. Unlike human touch, which carries history and expectation, animal touch is simple and repetitive. It stimulates sensory pathways that activate the vagus nerve, a central regulator of heart rate, digestion, inflammation, and emotional balance. Regular stimulation strengthens regulation across the entire system. This is not sentiment. It is physiology expressed through proximity and repetition. Animals also influence how humans experience time. Unstructured time feels endless and exhausting. Animals segment time naturally. Morning arrives with purpose. Evening closes with completion. This segmentation protects psychological endurance. Endurance protects longevity. Over years, time spent with animals feels slower, fuller, and less hostile to the nervous system. Beyond biology and routine, animals also reshape the inner narrative humans carry about aging itself. Aging is often experienced as loss of strength, relevance, speed, and independence. Animals subtly counter this narrative by normalizing cycles of dependence and care. They age alongside us. They slow down. They adapt. In doing so, they mirror human vulnerability in a way that feels natural rather than threatening. This reframing reduces shame, a powerful and often overlooked stressor that accelerates decline. Animals also reduce rumination. Modern minds replay the past and catastrophize the future. Presence interrupts this loop. Animals pull attention outward, into movement, sound, and immediate need. Over time, this grounding reduces chronic anxiety. Reduced anxiety preserves cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility protects autonomy later in life. In moments of emotional collapse, such as grief, illness, or identity loss, the animal effect becomes unmistakable. Mortality risk rises sharply after major life disruptions, not because of sadness alone, but because connection dissolves. Animals remain when humans break. They still require care. They still wait. This waiting keeps the future open. Even when meaning feels absent and motivation has collapsed, animals do not extend life by adding joy. Joy fluctuates and fades. What they provide is continuity. They stabilize identity through the enduring role of caretaker. They reduce isolation without demanding explanation. They regulate stress without language. Over decades, these small advantages compound into measurable differences in health, resilience, and survival. Animals do not change destiny. They change trajectory. They slow erosion. They preserve function. They reduce the biological cost of existing in a world that keeps the nervous system perpetually activated. They make existence less hostile, less abrasive, and more survivable across time. In a modern world where extended families fragment, community rhythms dissolve, and natural regulators disappear, animals quietly fill a void that technology cannot. They offer regulation without ideology, presence without demand, and stability without performance. They become living anchors in environments that are otherwise abstract and disembodied. The animal effect ultimately reveals something uncomfortable, but essential. Humans have built systems that outpace their own biology. In doing so, they have removed many of the conditions that once made longevity sustainable. Animals reintroduce fragments of those conditions, quietly, persistently, without instruction. They do not promise happiness. They do not guarantee fulfillment. What they offer is something more fundamental: a nervous system that can stand down, a body that can recover, a mind that can remain oriented toward the future. Over a lifetime, these protections accumulate. Time becomes less corrosive. Life remains intact longer than it otherwise would. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this reflection resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel to continue exploring the quiet ways animals shape our lives. Thank you for watching.